In this video, I'm going to show how to find the sample variance using this formula right here. And then we're also going to use the Google Functions VAR for the sample variance. And then this function right here, STDEV, for the sample standard deviation. So here I have a random sample of gas prices from 30 gas stations in Houston, Texas. So here this is the price per gallon. And so what we want to do is find the sample variance of this sample data. And so to get the sample variance, the first thing we need to find is the sample mean. And so to get the sample mean, we just add these values together. So add all of these values right here, add them together. So to add this value, if we want to use Google Sheet, it's just equal sum, and then it's just these values right here. So the sum is 85.15, and then the sample size is 30. And so we do $85.15 dividing by 30, then we get $2.84. And so this is called the sample mean. And then to calculate the sample variance, the first thing we need to do is calculate something called deviation about the mean. So we just do equal and then $2.70, and then minus the sample mean, which is $2.84. And then this is called the deviation about the mean. And we'll go ahead and do autofill. So for this data right here, the deviation about the mean is negative 0.09, meaning it's 9 cents below the sample mean. And then this is the rest of it. And then next, we'll calculate what's called the squared deviation about the mean. And so we just take each one of these values right here and just square it. And so we'll do equal, and then click on this cell, and then square, it's just hat 2, and just square. And then we'll do auto complete. So again, this is called the squared deviation about the mean. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to add all these values together, and add the squared deviations about the mean, add them all together. So I want sum equal sum, and then add all these values together. And it's 0.5873. So again, this is called the sum of squared deviations about the mean. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this value which is equal, and divide it by 30 minus 1. And then I'll explain a little bit later in a few minutes why we're doing it. Instead of dividing by 30, we're dividing by 30 minus 1. Then we get the 0.0. And this value right here, this is called the sample variance. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the square root of this number in Google Sheet. It'd be SQRT, and then the square root of this number. Then this is called the sample standard deviation. And so this is how we would calculate the sample variance and sample standard deviation using the formula. And then if we just want to calculate the sample variance using the Google Sheet functions, and then we just do equal, and then variance, VAR, and then we need to give the specify the range of the data. So in this case, the data is located in D in cells D248 to D277. So D248 and then D277. And we get exactly the same value when we right here. And then right here, to get the sample standard deviation, we want STDEV, standard deviation. And again, it'd be D248 to D277. And then we'll get exactly the same value when we use the formula. And now let's talk about mathematical notations. This value right here, this is the sum of square deviations about the mean. The mathematical notations for this value is written like this. For x bar, this is the sample mean. So we'll do the sample, we do the sum of square deviations dividing by sample size minus 1. And then the question is, how come we don't just dividing by the sample size? Why are we dividing by sample size minus 1? What happens is that the sample variance, it tends to underestimate the population variance. And so we're dividing by n minus 1, which to make this value a little bit larger. And so that's the reason why. And so S squared, which is the sample variance, in this case is 0.02025. And then the sample standard deviation, if we take the square root of this, then we get 0.142386. And so that's how we find, so to summarize everything, so that's how we find the sample variance using the formula. And then we can also find it using Google Sheets functions.